Hey, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When CJ and I were trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps that people like to listen to? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use too. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. We use Anchor because we live over an hour away and it brings us together as if we're in the same room. The sound quality is better than Skype and more reliable too. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing so, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join us and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
Hey CJ, remember that one time?
Oh yeah, it was fucking epic.
You're listening to
Remember That One Time,
the Inappropriate Storytime Podcast.
and these are not your mama's fairy tales.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is Remember That One Time with your host, Chris.
And CJ.
And today we have got double trouble for you. We decided to do a little social experiment and we went on Facebook and we messaged every person we could find with the names that matched our names. So we looked for Chris Wells and Courtney Davenport's. And it went pretty well for one of us. For me, on the other hand, my plan, it completely bombed. Everyone I messaged is a stale bagel, and I'm so mad. I got one reply, and the girl was like, "Oh yeah, LOL, my life is crazy." And that's the last I heard from her. So apparently it's not that crazy. And then everyone else, I mean, I don't even think they even looked at the message. So that one completely went down the drain. CJ has like super awesome stories and a special guest here with us today too. So strap in for that. But I will get my shit out of the way first so that we can like concentrate on that the whole time. So instead, since everyone is a 10-piece chicken McNobody that I messaged, instead I went to Google to just type in my name and see what the hell I can find. Well, apparently, there was a serial killer by the name of Wayne Nance in the 90s who, like, killed a whole bunch of people, hence serial. And the last people he tried to kill, he, like, broke into this couple's house. It was, I don't remember the guy's name. It was, like, Doug or something. Doug and Chris Wells. And instead, they turned the tables and they, like, beat his ass and they killed him instead.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so yay for Chris Wells. She killed a serial killer. Very exciting.
She did the world a service. That's badass.
Legit. Like this guy, I mean, he killed a whole bunch of people. I will put a link up to the Wikipedia page on our Facebook here in a little bit so you can delve deep into that. Like there should be a Netflix special on this guy.
We're going to call them. We're going to call Netflix and we're going to tell them about it. And they're going to make another serial killer documentary and it's going to be all because of us.
Yes, like they don't need any more. Well, apparently Chris Wells is also a prominent LGBTQ plus activist as well up in like Canada or something. I think he's in like Alberta, but that's a Christopher. So I found a whole lot of shit about him. That's fun. Mm-hmm. And lastly, there's a character female named Chris Wells in a book called To Kill and Kill Again. So I'm sensing a theme.
Wow.
Yes.
There's a lot of killing.
Apparently, but that is all I could dig up. I spent like 3 hours at work instead of working, Googling myself because people are losers and they don't answer to me.
Well, look at it like this. You got paid to Google yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been paid all week to work on my novel too because I've caught up on my work on like Monday morning. So I'm just like, whatever.
Right.
It is what it is. But yeah, that sums it up for me. If it was just me in this podcast, this would be a really quick episode.
Oh my gosh.
It
Wow.
sounds like people who have your name are heroes. They're LGBT activists and also someone who murdered a serial killer. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Exactly. There is so much pride going on.
Right. You
I
have
see
a great
what you
name.
did there.
Ha.
Punny, so punny.
Punny. Yes,
Punny.
indeed.
So
Well,
I learned that 95% of people thought I was a spammer with my little message on Facebook, except
same.
for this Courtney Davenport. And I did have another response. It was, she eventually told me in the message that she's 19, so I guess she's probably like busy with college and all this other stuff because I didn't really
Living
get a
her
whole lot.
life.
Yeah, I didn't really get a whole lot from her, but I did get one little story from her.
Yay.
But like before we get started, can I just say this is so cool with the whole three-way Skype thing. Like I'm sure
Oh my
everybody else has
God.
been doing this for like 15 years, but like I feel like we're on a three-way call in middle school, except I'm not like hovering in the background waiting on someone to talk shit.
I was about
like-
to say, it doesn't sound like this is Jason on the other line, whom you've never met in your entire life, but you're pretty sure you're going to marry.
Listen, he was a dreamboat. Okay, get off me.
Do you still have his school picture with like "Love Jason" on the back of it?
Shout out, Jason. I love you. Totally kidding. Kind of. No.
Kind of.
Well, no.
He was hot.
Actually,
I don't know if he was real.
he was. Where would the school picture have come from? He was totally real.
Just because there's a school picture does not mean there's a Jason.
Look, don't crush my dreams, man. He was real.
Jason Collar, if you're listening.
Right.
That would be amazing.
Just
Oh my
kidding.
God.
Not really. Call me.
Yes. That
He
would be
provided
awesome.
showerhead masturbation material for at least 6 months.
Yes.
Yes, you just went there. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay. So, all right. Before I'm not gonna hijack this thing like I usually do. So I'm gonna let the other Courtney Davenport go on with her story. I think she has one, possibly two. So I'm gonna let her take it away.
I actually, the more I thought about it, I have three. I don't know if you
hell
want to
yeah.
hear all three because they're very, very different. But before I even tell you about my three stories, I want to tell you that I actually know of another Courtney Davenport that lives in
What?
my town.
Are you
Yes.
serious? Oh my God.
So I am brown hair, green eyes. She is blonde hair, blue eyes. She's a family therapist. And it's
Oh.
funny because this is not one of my stories, but I'm a member of Massage Envy. I don't know if you guys have those kind of things like
Yeah.
Massage Envy. I love it. It's a lifesaver. And
Mhm.
so I get a call in the middle of work one day at 10 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, "Hey, girl, you're late for your appointment." I'm like, I wish I was laying on a table getting a massage right now, but I did not make an appointment. It's in the middle of my workday. And they're like, "No, you're right here, Courtney B. Davenport." I'm like, "I'm Courtney A. Davenport." They're like, "Oh, that must not be you." And I knew there was another Courtney Davenport in town. And then later, months and months later, they said, "Oh, the other Courtney Davenport is here." I happened to show up, and she was coming out of her massage when I was going in. And I recognized her because I checked her out on the web. I was like, "Are you Courtney Davenport?" She's like, "Yeah, you must be the other one. I keep hearing about you." And I'm like, "Oh my God, we need to have coffee one day." And then I never saw her again.
I love it. Creeper love is deeper love.
I know. I mean, we're just out here living that Courtney Davenport life all day, every day. We need to get together and
Yes.
talk.
There's a lot of us on Facebook. I think I messaged 38 of us.
I did not know it was that many.
Yes, there was a couple of guys, but it was mostly girls. And
Yep.
yeah, so out of 38 messages, I got 2 responses. So there's that.
Yeah, Courtney.
So,
is a
shout
very
out for being
popular male name in Jamaica. I've found out.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah,
Nice.
pretty cool. So my 3 stories. I have one about me being mean to somebody as a kid. I have one that's very touching and very heartwarming about the day we brought my baby brother home.
Oh.
And then I have another one that is really embarrassing that normally people who become like friends, like there's gates of friendship. You're like, hey, you're cool. Like, hey, I'll hang out with you a little bit. And then, the hanging out happens. And then they hear the story of the terrible 4th of July where things went wrong. And so we're just going to fast forward to the like super close friendship with you guys. So maybe I will tell you that story. So which one do you want to hear? Let me know.
Dude, I'm excited because she fits right in. So any of them works perfect.
I was thinking the same thing. I love this. I say, let's hear the touching story first so I can go ahead and cry and get it over with.
Yeah.
Boom.
A lot of times I tear up when I tell the touching story. So
God.
My little brother is 10 years younger than me. We're actually born in the same month. And he is adopted. And my parents, they had me and they really, really tried to have a kid after me, but they just weren't successful. And so I remember us coming home from like a dinner one night and the phone ringing when we were coming in the door. And my mom getting really, really excited because it was the social worker saying, we have a baby for you. They had been on the list for years and years and years and years, and they just didn't think they were going to get a call. So they had like 2 or 3 weeks to rush around and get ready to buy all of the things that you buy, which is a lot for kid. And, let everybody know, hey, we're getting a new baby. And no, it's coming in 2-3 weeks.
So baby, like newborn?
He was born in October. He was going to be 2 months old. This was all in December.
Oh.
So right before he was about to come home with us, they had called and they were like, hey, he's in the hospital because he has pneumonia. So we're just going to kind of keep an eye on him for a little bit, but the adoption date might be pushed depending on how he does. So, of course, my parents were super stressed about that. They had already had their heart set on him. And then so they called again like a couple days later and they were like, he has double pneumonia and we're really concerned he's not going to make it. Oh. And so my parents were super upset and very, very stressed. And that was, I think, on a Friday. And then by the time Monday or Tuesday came around, they were like, he got better. And so it was so awesome that he got better and we were able to take him home. So I remember the day we picked him up. This is like one of my favorite childhood memories. I remember what I was wearing, of course, because I'm a girl. I remember what I'm wearing in all of my important life moments. I was wearing, and, I have a feeling I'm older than the two of you, so I'm just going to say it's 19. That
I don't know. We're pretty old.
Yeah, we're up there.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just leave it as up there then. Well, my family's very Southern, so I always say a Southern woman never reveals her age or her biscuit recipe. So we'll just leave that. But I was wearing this like button-down shirt that was bright yellow, and I have no business wearing yellow with my coloring, and a long skirt that matched the pattern of the shirt perfectly. And the shirt pattern had these like bright primary color geographic like squares, and it was awful. It was a terrible outfit. But I'm sitting there and I'm at the social worker's office, and I was in the office with my parents for a little while, and I remember they're talking like grown-up things. I'm 10. And then the social worker says, you may want to send your daughter out to the waiting room because we're going to talk. And I can't remember if it was like the money aspect or about his birth mother or what it was. I don't remember. I'm little. So they shooed me out of the room. So I go into the reception, which is a really big room, and I'm reading a magazine. And there's a woman who's the receptionist at a big reception desk by the door. And another woman comes in. She's got a bunch of laundry in her arms. And she stops and she talks to the receptionist. And they're chatting. And I'm just sort of reading and not really paying attention, but aware of what's going on around me. They're chit-chatting, and then all of a sudden, she takes the laundry and she sort of tips it a little bit. And then the receptionist reaches her hand in it, and I realize that there's a baby. And I realize that what she's holding is blankets. And there's a baby in there. And so immediately, I've got this magazine in front of me, and I put it on my lap because I was like, I think I know what's going on here. And so then the woman walks from the reception right to the other side of the door where my parents are. And I knew in that moment that that was my baby brother. And so I jump up from where I'm sitting and I run to her because I want to see him. I want to be the first one to see his little face. And so she, poor thing, she's holding my baby brother with one arm with all these blankets. She's trying to calm down the jumping 10-year-old right next to her. Like, I need to open the door. Will you stop? And I'm like, It's because I'm so excited. And she's also trying to open the door, but I was always bragging that I was the first one to see his little face. So yeah, she opened the door, and then I got to see the moment where my parents saw him too. So I love that memory. It's one of my favorites. And then part of that day, I have two little tiny quick things to tell about that day, which is also really awesome. My grandmother and my grandfather, we took my brother straight to their house because I had a piano holiday party that day. And my grandparents lived close to my piano teacher's house where she would host a holiday party. All of the students would kind of go up to the piano. We had picked a Christmas carol we would play for everybody, and she had like punch and cookies and stuff. It was for little kids. So we go immediately from the adoption agency to my grandparents' house so that they could meet him. And my grandmother flings, we like knock on the door. My grandmother was probably holding her breath, waiting on the other side of the door. She flings the doors open, and she just grabs my brother straight out of my mother's arms. And my mom's just standing there like, I just got him 5 minutes ago. Can you maybe not take him away right this second? And my grandmother is just crying, and she's like, I never knew I would love him this much. And she just like took him away to the back of the house. And I remember my mom standing there like, okay, well, that just happened. And then the last part of that day, which is really funny, is so I go on to my piano Christmas party, and I'm so excited. Obviously, this really big thing has happened in my family. And I go up to my piano teacher, and I'm like, Miss Wyrenas, we got a baby today. And she's like, you mean you got some new dolls? Because I was really big into Cabbage Patch Kids. I had like 7 of them. She goes, you got a new baby doll? And I go, no, we got a baby today. We got a baby today. It's a boy. And she's like, no, you didn't get a baby today. And I go, we got a baby today. And she looks at me and she goes, Courtney, it is not very nice to lie.
Oh.
She stared me dead in my
fired.
eye. And I was like, I'm not lying. She goes, I've seen your mother. She is not pregnant. It's not nice to lie. And I'm like, and then she walks away from me, and I'm like, I'm not lying. And then when my mother comes to pick me up from the party, she obviously has my little brother. And my piano teacher is like, oh my God, you have a baby.
Yes, bitch, that's what I said.
Right. My mom is like, we adopted him. We just picked him up today. She's like, oh my God, I called your daughter a liar. I'm standing there like, hello. So that's the story about the day we got my baby brother.
Oh,
That's very sweet.
Yes. He was like, when you're 10 years old and you get your little sibling, it's almost like you're a second mom. My mom got it totally, like she had it made, because I walked everywhere with him on my hip. I took care of him. I played with him, and she's like, I okay, bye. Let me know if you need anything. You want to feed it? Sure. Okay. Great.
That's so weird. Like that sounds like my life. Like my brother is 11 years younger than me, and he was born in the same month as me as well. Weird. Actually, on the same day, we have the exact same birthday.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, parents when they have their kids so far apart like that, man, they got it made with that second kid or third or however many, because it's like you're old enough, like you're in there in the trenches, you're changing diapers and you're doing some of the feedings and stuff, and ooh.
Well, and then whenever I wanted something for Christmas and I thought I was too old to really play with it or ask for it, I would say, you know what he really wants for Christmas? The McDonald's drive-through play set. He told me he really wants it, and then he gets it, and I'm totally playing with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yep. So that's my heartwarming story about my little brother. And now my little brother has, actually, speaking of same birthdays, now my little brother has 2 kids, and his little boy was just born last year on his birthday. So he got a baby boy for his birthday.
That's so weird. Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's so funny.
Okay, so I'll tell the story about me being mean as a kid first, because the embarrassing story is probably the crescendo to this evening. So as a kid, I was a really, really nice kid. My parents got really lucky with me. You know, I amused my baby brother. I really wasn't a whole lot of trouble to them at all. And I was just painfully nice to everybody. And fast forward now in my adult life, like I have a leadership position in my job, and I've really had to make a conscious effort to not bury that part of me, but like be honest with people, even when I know it might, hurt their feelings or make them sad, because if you're going to be in a position of leadership, you need to be honest with people because clear is kind and you want them to get better. But that was a thing I really had to overcome as a grown-up, because my mom's whole side of the family is from Georgia. And yes, I have like salty Georgia ladies in my family, of course, the bless your heart when you know what they really mean and all that stuff. But my grandfather raised my mother in the whole, there's never a reason to be mean to people vein. And so she kind of passed that on to me. So I was just really nice to everybody all the time. My neighbor was the same age as me and the same grade as me, and she was mean. But we would play together all the time. I'm going to call her Allie. I won't tell her real name. We would play together all the time because she lived right next door to me. We were in the same grade. We had stuff in common and friends in common, so she'd come over. And we had this little game we would play in my backyard, and we called it Stations. And I had a jungle gym type thing with swings and, monkey bar things, and then like a little playhouse. And then there was this other thing it was kind of like a porch swing, but it wasn't attached to the ceiling. It was attached to this PVC, like these two triangles on the side that were connected by PVC pipes. And then the swing would hang from the middle. So you could almost pick it up and move it around the yard. So Stations game was basically, you would be either on the jungle gym or on the swing or in the house. And I would have my little Mickey Mouse alarm clock in the backyard, and I'd set it for 5 minutes and we'd play wherever we were. And then when the alarm went off, we'd switch. It was so silly. We thought it was the most fun game ever, and we played it for like hours. So we had taken that. The reason why I was telling you about the swing is that we had taken the swing off of it and we had turned it on its side so that it was kind of mimicking, the uneven parallel bars that gymnasts use.
Yeah. Yep.
That lower bar, and they'll do these, what they call hip circles, where they're right at their hips and they go around the bar. And they just do tricks on there. Well, we had kind of made it into that because both me and Allie were in gymnastics and dance. So we tipped it on its side to where there was a bar right there, and we could do little hip circles and stuff. And we would weight it on the other side so that it wouldn't fall over. And so we were playing Stations. She was on that PVC thing, and she was playing around, and she had it right at her hips. And when the alarm went off, she wouldn't get off of it because she's mean. And I was like, it's my turn to be on that thing. She's like, no, I'm not moving. I'm like, but it's my turn. And she's like, no, I'm not moving. So I don't know what came over little baby Courtney that day. But I had decided I had just had about enough of her. And so I kicked off whatever was holding the thing in place, and I pushed her straight down. So I lifted it up, and her face met that yard with a quickness. It was like, pap. And she like busted her teeth. And she's crying, and I'm instantly livid. Like, I don't know where it came from, because I told you I'm super painfully nice, but I had just had enough of her shit that day. And so I tipped it straight over, and she's crying, and she's acting like she's such a victim, and how could I? And oh my God, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I'm going home. And so she runs home, and I'm crying too, because I'm like, my mother's going to kill me. I can't believe I did that. And she had left. She brought over like a baby carriage and some dolls. And so after I had calmed myself down a little bit, I still hadn't gone in the house and told my mother about what happened. I calmed myself down, and I wheel the little baby carriage over next door, and Allie's mom answers the door, and she's like strung out and frantic, obviously, because Allie's just come home in tears with busted tooth in the front. And she's like, I cannot believe what you did. Did you really do this? And I was like, I'm sorry. You just Allie's dolls. I am so disappointed in you. I can't believe what I'm sorry. And so then I eventually go home. And I didn't tell my mother what I had done, that story, until I was like 25. Because I was scared and embarrassed. And then I remember over the next couple of days being shocked that she didn't come to me and like, I just heard what you did to Allie. Did you really do this? But nobody told her. Allie's mom didn't say anything. Allie didn't say anything. She would come over again for years. So she never found out. And then I was much, much older when I finally told my mom. And do you know what my mother said to me?
What?
She's like, that bitch deserved it.
Oh my God.
Right? She gonna learn today.
She was mean. She was really legit mean.
Well, they probably, honestly, they probably didn't say anything because they were like, this little girl has been so nice, and then she just snapped and like busted up my shit. Like, there ain't no telling what else she's capable of. Like,
I
better
know.
just keep quiet.
Ellie had to have been terrified of you.
You know
She
what?
was
I'm gonna
like-
go with that. Yeah. I mean, and thankfully those were her baby teeth, so it's not like, oh my God.
And every Courtney I've ever met has been a bully.
That's true. Oh my gosh.
That is not true.
I'm so not a bully.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that's Allie and me being mean as a kid. So the final story is a really embarrassing one. And it has my little brother in it years and years later. So my brother, I live in Florida. And my brother came to visit for a 4th of July. And his favorite restaurant is Carrabba's. So we have a Carrabba's in South Sarasota that's near this bridge, that the bridge takes you to the beach. And so our plan that night was to eat at Carrabba's, and then we were going to leave the car at Carrabba's because a lot of people like to go watch the fireworks on the beach. So the parking's a mess and everything. We're like, well, we'll eat dinner and then we'll leave the car here and we'll walk. It's about maybe like a mile and a half up and over the bridge to the beach. Great plan. Sounds fun. So we eat at Carrabba's. I have like a sausage pasta type thing with some wine. It was great. Then we begin the walk. We walk to the beach. We have blankets and water and stuff, and we watch the fireworks, and everything's great. As we're walking back to the car, there's a little, almost like a 7-Eleven right before this bridge that I'm telling you about. And I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of like, I feel like I have to go to the bathroom. But I was in this throng of people, and everything, you know, like when you're in a really big group of people and everybody's moving in one direction, it's like if you break away from that throng of people, it's kind of a pain in the ass. And I was like, well, we're almost at the car. I'll be fine. So I just passed the 7-Eleven. Big mistake. So we're on the way up the bridge, and I'm feeling, you know, kind of uncomfortable, but I'm kind of all right. By the time we get at the top of the bridge, I turn to my little brother and I'm like, hey, so you know those car games we used to play as a kid when we were in the car and we were bored, like song games and all that stuff? Can we just start playing one right now? And he's like, why? I'm like, I really need to be distracted right now. And he's like, all right, why? And I'm like, guess I have to go to the bathroom. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to start playing a song game. And so we're playing a game or whatever, and we're talking, and we're at the top of the bridge. And then as we're heading down on the other side of the bridge, I'm really uncomfortable. And then by the time I'm on flat land, which is about another half mile to the car, I know I'm in trouble. I know that there is a situation going on in my stomach. So I have all these blankets and the water thermos and everything in my hands. And at this point, my head's on a swivel because I'm like, I'm going to have a problem. Like I need to find a store or something, like anything that'll have a bathroom that I could go use. And there's not anything. There's like these closed businesses and these little tiny one-off professional buildings, like 1,500 square foot little buildings and stuff. Nothing's open because it's nighttime. It's a holiday. And so I'm looking around. He's trying to play this card game with me. And I'm just like, I'm talking, but I'm looking. And then I see a little building, and my brother's in the middle of a sentence, and I just throw the blankets and everything right at his face. And I run behind this little tiny white building. I think it was a lawyer's office or an accountant's office, because I have to go. It's coming out no matter what. So I run behind the building, which was white. Poor thing. And I kick my shoes off all the way in front of me, and my underwear and my shorts, and I lean up against the wall, and just everything came out. It was horrible.
Oh, no.
That's amazing.
It was awful.
No.
And then if you've never been to Florida, have you ever been to Florida? Do you guys live in Florida
Yeah.
or anything?
We live in Tennessee, but I go to Florida like
Often.
probably once a year, at
Right.
least.
So
I
if
love
you
it.
if you live near the beach, a lot of times if people don't want to pave, a driveway or something because it's expensive, they'll use like broken shell that you can drive over. So of course, this area, the parking area behind this little building, is all broken shell. And I kick my flip-flops like far in front of me when I lean up against the building because I don't want anything to get on them. And so my feet are like getting hurt and cut on all these broken shell, but I do not give a damn.
Oh my God.
So I'm just like leaned up against the building in kind of a squatty position and just everything comes out. And and I turned around and looked at it and it was like a dark line in a little pile. Awful. But there was no stopping it. So
my God.
I took my underwear and I kind of crumpled it up and like put it on top of the pile. I don't know why. There was nothing on my underwear, but I just felt like it needed to like have a little cover. Kind of like when like if someone murders somebody they love and they pull a sheet over it or something. So
Good night, sweet prince.
Yeah, left.
I don't want to see their face. I'm too ashamed.
Oh God. Yeah. I just wanted to cover it. I wanted to cover my shame. And so, yeah, I put all my clothes back on and everything. And I walked back around the building to the very bewildered looks on my husband and younger brother's face. Like, did you just, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did. I 100% did. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, we need to keep moving because I don't know if anyone's going to try and stop me. I don't know if there are cameras back there, but we need to move to the car.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Please and thank you. And they were like, I can't believe you did that. And I said, would you rather me have done it in your car? Because there is no choice here. It was happening. It's like that scene in Bridesmaids when she's in the street and she's like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Oh, it's happening. It's happening.
There's literally like, oh my God, I've been there. Like, there's nothing you can do. No. Was it food poisoning from Carrabba's?
No, I had a really bad habit until recently of eating bullshit that I should not. That's my problem.
Oh.
Like cheese and there was a reason I told you that I had a sausage pasta. To this day, with some of my friends, they will nickname me Spicy Sausage sometimes. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
We've got a friend who's nicknamed Marinara kind of for the same reason.
Yep, I feel that.
Except hers is the other end. Like if she has the red sauce and then she drinks, she always barfs it up and her like bright red. It's really sad.
That has got to taste horrendous coming back up the other end. That is awful. So the button on this story is a holiday, and I think it was during the week. So I go back to work the next day, and I'm at my desk, and my phone rings, and I answer it, and the person on the other line says, "Yeah, hi, is this Courtney Davenport?" And I go, "Yes, it is." And they go, "This is Officer so and so from the police department." No. And we need to talk to you about your whereabouts on July 4th. And I was kind of like, what's this pertaining to? And they said, well, we found some DNA evidence behind a building. And then instantly, because of my line of work, I know that you don't submit something for DNA and have it turn around in less than 24 hours. I know that CSI makes it look really cool and easy, but that is not how it works in the real world.
And that's not a cheap test. Like, they're not going to go after somebody for shitting behind a building.
Right. Even like fingerprints. I've had to, ask, police officers for fingerprint stuff when buildings are broken into and stuff. And they're like, yeah, that's like months almost because things just get backlogged. So when he said we found some DNA evidence, I asked one more question because I wanted to hear him talk, and I was like, Joe, shut the fuck up. And he's like, ha! So it's a friend of mine.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
He tried to
you literally had my butt cheeks clenched for a minute. I was scared.
I heard you go.
Oh my God, she going to jail.
Oh my God, my girl's going to jail. I gotta go bail out Courtney Davenport.
A bitch.
Yep. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, to this day, like I said, some of my friends, they used to joke with me. They're like, if you ever join roller derby, we're going to make your name Spicy Sausage, put it on the back of your jersey. And I'm like, shut up. I don't want to hear it from you.
I love it.
Oh my God. I have to know, what did you use to wipe with if you left your underwear behind on the pile?
Actually, I think now that I think about it, I think I wiped with my underwear and that's why I left
it. And then left it?
Yeah, because I did look around and was looking for like a big leaf or something, but I was like, watch me pick the one ridiculous leaf that's got like poison ivy or some junk on it. Like, no, here's a perfectly good pair of underwear.
Like, what was your other option? Like, Frito scoop it with a like sharp shell? No.
And I remember I really liked those underwear. I was sad. I was like, oh, R.I.P. cute Victoria's Secret underwear. Boo.
Oh.
But even
Damn.
now, like I felt guilty the next day because I work in like property management and I know somebody had to clean that up. And I almost mailed them like a check or something. But then I was like, if I mail them a check, then they've got my name and my address, and I'm not just going to put cash in an envelope. Like, what am I supposed to do? But I feel bad about it because somebody did have to clean that up. Somebody showed up to work the next day and went to go park in their spot and was like, what the hell is that?
That's amazing.
I had to power wash
my
that off the
God.
side of the building. I felt bad. I felt guilty. See, I'm a nice person.
Oh my
Anyway,
God. I'm
that's-
so good.
that's the ABCs of this Courtney Davenport. Hooray.
That's amazing. Totally, totally worth it.
Aw.
That's so funny. So I'm gonna tell the other Courtney Davenport story, the other one that wasn't that didn't join us. So
Before you get into that, can I talk about if you wanted to start your own podcast?
yes.
Of course. Well, when CJ and I were trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show onto all the apps that people like to listen to? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. It's Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. We use Anchor because we live over an hour away and it brings us together as if we're in the same room. And also it's like really super easy to upload to, and you can also track some of your analytics and all fun stuff like that. So if you've ever wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. That's anchor.fm/start to join us and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast, and I can't wait to hear this other Courtney story.
Okay, so this girl, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how this works, but apparently her ex-boyfriend, so he's in college and he's in this class, and his next class is like basically like 3 miles walking distance, like on the other side of campus. And it is like pouring down rain. I mean, like torrential downpours. And apparently he's on like really good terms with his professor, because his professor gives him the keys to his car and says, here, you can use my car to drive across campus to your other class. Just bring it back when you're done, when your other class is over with.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm imagining like the kind of relationship that, like, I don't know if y'all watch Shameless, but like the kind of relationship that like Lip Gallagher has with that like drunken professor of his that they're always running around together. Like, it's got to be like that. I can't imagine any professor anywhere saying, here's the keys to my car. Like, go take it. Have fun.
Maybe that professor wanted to be like the young, cool professor. Oh, yeah, here's my car. You want to use my apartment?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It had to be.
Uh-huh.
So naturally, I mean, the other Courtney Davenport is 19, so I'm assuming her ex-boyfriend is probably about the same age. So naturally, does he take the car to the other side of campus for his class and bring it back? No. He drives 2.5 hours in this car, leaving his professor at the school in this giant storm, drives 2.5 hours to other Courtney Davenport's house, and has sex with her in the back seat of this car, and then drives it back to his professor and gives the car back to him. Crusty nastiness in the back seat and all.
I have questions.
I know. I did too.
Question
like-
the first. Did she know that was his professor's car? Or was she like, oh, you rented something fun? Okay.
I don't know. Like, I had questions too. Like, but like our last message, she didn't respond. So I was like, you cannot leave me hanging like this. There's so many loose ends that need to be tied up. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, how did this happen?
What kind of car was it? I also want to know that.
She didn't say that either. I'm like, Oh my God. Like, and was this planned? Like, why? Okay, why? Maybe this is just the old person in me talking, because I was a teenager once. I had a lot of sex and a lot of cars. It's not fun. And I made a vow to myself that when I was a grown up and I had my own house, I wasn't going to have sex in cars anymore because it's not fun. So I'm like, did she, like, what was going on in that house that they couldn't have sex in the house like a normal couple? Like, why did they, like, he drove to her house, but they had to have sex in the car? Like, you just like pull up and text her, like, I'm here, meet me in the back.
It's a van, and he's got like pillows and blankets laid out in the back of the van, and like some nice music on the radio.
Been there, done that.
He's got the little hanging pine tree thing. He's bought the one that's like jasmine and smelling or something.
Yes. And it's brand new, fresh out the package.
Oh yeah, he's pimped out that van. He is ready for her.
Like, that's what I'm telling myself. This wasn't just any, like, this was not a Civic or a Corolla, because that would be, when you leave loose ends like this, you expect somebody to tie them up. It's just what happens. So it was not a Corolla. It was not a Civic. I'm picturing, like, one of those 1987 old painter's vans with no windows. And
Yeah,
And on a teacher's salary.
Right.
It wasn't a nice car. It had like some gym clothes in the back seat. That this was not a great experience.
Yeah.
Also, physics question. So if this is like a tiny little coupe or something like you were saying, it wouldn't, it's uncomfortable. But if it's like a van, because I too have had sex in the back of a van, if you get going, like, you start rocking the whole thing. So the van will physically move back and forth on top of the tires. So somebody outside must have been like, something is going on in that van.
I know, exactly. I know, like, growing up, like, me and my very first boyfriend and everything, like, we'd drive home, like, okay, curfew is at midnight, so we've pulled in the driveway at midnight. We're golden, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody said I had to come in the house. Like, I'll be sitting out in the driveway for 2.5 hours. Like, did I really come in the house at 2:30 in the morning and think that my parents didn't know what I had been doing in the driveway for 2.5 hours?
Dude, that is a veteran teenage move.
Like, was I really that stupid?
That's like when you're playing tag or something and you touch home base and you think that that's good enough. Right. I'm touching home. I'm touching it. You see, you can't get me now. I think as teenagers, we all had sex in places that we probably had no business having sex. My mother used to sleep on the porch because, like I said, I live in Florida. She liked to sleep in Arctic conditions, like penguins ice skating around her. And she was the only one in the house that liked it like that. So they had a window rattler in my back porch, and she made a little bed out there, and she would sleep out there all the time. And it was freaking freezing. So I had a sliding glass door right to where she was sleeping in my bedroom. And yeah, me and my teenage boyfriend would have sex right there. And I must have thought I was so cool and so quiet. Probably not.
And she was probably laying out there in her little bed going, this is nasty as fuck. I'm just trying to, like, live my life out here.
I'm just
catch some Florida breeze, and I'm hearing nasty amateur porn in the next room.
Maybe that window rattler was so loud that maybe she didn't hear anything. I don't know.
Oh my God. That we could make an entire podcast episode about, like, places we had sex that we shouldn't have.
Ooh, I want to invite me back for that. I got some good ones.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, off the top of my head, like, I got some places that, like, I had like, how am I even still here? How did I not get arrested for indecent exposure or something?
Yep.
It's crazy. So I think that's about all I've got. Well, this is just a little quick thing that I remembered from back when I had my first husband's last name. So I used to be Courtney Elliott. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, other Courtney, I don't know if you've ever been to Nashville, but there's a bar downtown called Wild Horse Saloon. And
I know Nashville really well. I actually go there a lot for work.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, nice. That's like, I'm only about 30 miles from Nashville.
Oh, girl, we're going to have to meet up with him for a drink.
Yes. At Wild Horse.
I would love that because I really like line dancing a lot. I'm a dancey person. I like
shit.
I go every single weekend.
Oh my God, we definitely need to go.
You two are the same person, I swear.
Isn't that bizarre?
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, all week long, the reason, I mean, I was, when you and I were communicating about the podcast, I was like, well, I have a workout class that I take, I could make a 9:00 my time. Well, I'm addicted. There's a hip hop dance fitness class here in town, and I take it like 4 days a week. I'm at that place like 6 hours a week. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. And I'm like a nice
awesome.
professional person. And so when people that I work with or are work adjacent, they want to come, and I'm like, okay, but I cannot be held responsible for the girl you see when I'm in that room because she's a different person.
Seriously, like, so we went dancing this weekend like we always do. And like Nashville is like a maybe 3 or 4 times a year deal for us, just because it is 30 miles away. So you got the whole Uber thing. It's expensive to park. You got to pay cover and all that. So like on just a regular weekend, like last weekend, we'll go to Murfreesboro, and there's a place called Whiskey Dick's where we go all the time, and ladies get in free till 9, and it's free beer till 11. So if you play your cards right, you don't even have to spend any money, which I love that. But they stamp your hand when you walk in, and it's a big obnoxious stamp that says Whiskey Dick's. And I don't know, they just used like some really, really permanent ink last Friday, but I have scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed. It is still on my hand. And I work for a doctor. I'm a office manager at a dental office. And so first thing Monday morning, I'm sitting there. There's a patient in front of me. I'm trying to schedule an appointment. And my boss comes up and he's like, "What's that on your hand?" And I like covered it up because I've got like this patient in front of me. I didn't want to be like, "It's my stamp from the bar,"
Is it your mouse hand? Like, the hand that you use the mouse in? Oh my God. How could you hide that? Oh my God. Of course it is.
It is. It was my right hand. So I was like, "Oh, I went to a festival this weekend." I mean, and like he knows, like my boss knows that I go dancing. He knows I'm always out there, but I didn't want to say it in front of the patient and be like, "Yeah, I went to the bar this weekend," Just try to be professional. But anywho, so back in the day when I had my first husband's last name, I was Courtney Elliott, and we used to go to Wild Horse all the time. Well, we still do. And there's actually a dance instructor there, and her name is Courtney Elliott. And so,
oh my gosh.
Me and my friend just went to Fort Worth because they have the biggest honky tonk in the world there. And so naturally we made the trip so we could go dance there. And we told everybody that we worked at Wild Horse and that we were dance instructors from Wild Horse. And we came all the way from Nashville to visit the world's largest honky tonk. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we travel, we like to pretend we're other people.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing we do.
Yeah.
Didn't everybody in college have like a bar name that you instantly gave out to guys when you really didn't want them to contact you or know you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mine
Definitely.
was Allison or Mallory because somebody used to call me Allison, like a teacher, because I looked like another girl named Allison. So I just went with that, Allison or Mallory.
Nice. I was always Roxy with 2 X's and an I, with the heart over the I.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right?
I was Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte. That's very classy.
Charlotte Star with 2
Charlotte
R's.
Star. Yeah, with 2 R's.
That almost sounds like you wear clear heels for a living.
Yeah, you're closer than you think.
Yeah, you should go back and listen to whatever episode that is. What do you know it off the top of your head?
Off the top of
What's
my head.
That episode where we were talking about our side hustles.
Yeah, hang on. Let me scroll through.
Episode 6.
6.
I don't think that's cool anymore. I was almost a Hooters girl, but man, that is really cool.
I was no. I was not a stripper.
Yeah, let's just make that clear. It was much
I
worse than
respect that. I mean, that's a lot of money.
It was.
Yeah, this
it was
is not
actually,
respectful.
if you can imagine, it was actually in some ways even freakier than being a stripper.
Oh my God, I'm going to go back and listen to episode 6 now. I have to do it immediately.
Episode 6, check it out.
Nice plug for episode 6.
Yes. Oh, speaking of
plugs.
plugging, yeah, I need you to shout out your husband's podcast.
Yes, that is so nice. Thank you. So he's actually recording in the other room right now. His podcast is called The Hollywood Outsider. And they actually won an award a couple of years ago, like People's Choice podcast, which is really cool. It's got a website, and they talk about movies and television, all things entertainment. There were a couple adjacent podcasts that the main guy, Aaron, did. I was on a couple of them. One of them was called Remake This Movie Right, and it's unfortunately not being made anymore, but I loved that podcast and the premise. It was we would take a movie that Hollywood is in the process of remaking, but that's not quite out yet, and then we would redo the story a little bit, recast it, talk about what worked in the first movie and what needed to be changed, and then at the end of the podcast, they would actually have a movie trailer that was like professionally done. So it was really, really cool, and I missed that podcast a lot, but I got to do the one about the movie Splash, because apparently there's a remake in the works for Splash. You will never believe. Have you heard anything about it?
No.
Guess who's playing the mermaid?
Ooh.
Channing Tatum. They're switching the genders.
Why?
It's Channing Tatum as the mermaid, and then, oh my God, I don't remember her name, but I feel so bad about this. She's a comedian. She's blonde. I'm going to have to. No, but she's kind of like, her body type is like that, but she's older. She was in that movie with Scarlett. No, she was in the movie with Scarlett Johansson about the bachelorette party that went terribly wrong a couple years ago.
Damn, I saw that movie too.
She's got blonde. Your listeners are like screaming at their phones right now. The exact name.
All two of them.
I can't. I can't recall it, and I feel terrible about that. I feel like it's not Leslie or something, but it's something like that. But she's the chick, and so that's weird. I don't love that remake idea, but we did Flatliners before it came out, and we did some others, and then I've been on the Hollywood Outsider, which we affectionately called the Ho because it's Hollywood Outsider.
I love
it.
I've
been on that one a couple times too, because they did an all-female episode. They did one about tearjerker movies and one about post-apocalyptic movies and stuff. So it's been fun. I've gotten to do them, but he's the real professional, which is funny because I was the first one to listen to podcasts in our relationship, and I'm the one who introduced them to him, and now he's like Mr. Podcast. Wouldn't you go figure?
That's
I know.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I added his, or I joined his group on Facebook, so I've enjoyed seeing all the stuff that he posts. He posts a lot. Like he's into it.
Yeah, and it's always like, hilarious.
Yeah. He's got it going on. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'll tell him that. And also, he's never met a misspelled word he doesn't love, because I love that man, but he cannot spell.
Bless his little heart. I was really hoping that his name was Chris, because my husband's name is Chris. I was like, how bizarre would that be?
That would be bizarre if they were related somehow, but I don't think we're related to anybody in Tennessee. We have family in North Carolina.
And is it Kate McKinnon? Is that who?
No, but I'm going to look this up. Y'all better.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Fill the time here, because I want to know.
Elena Glazer, Jillian Bell.
Jillian Bell. I think that's it. Jillian Bell. Let me look at her picture real quick.
There's not even a picture of her on Wikipedia. That's so sad.
Oh.
Womp womp.
It is. I think it is Jillian Bell.
Yes. Yes, I recognize her. She's in things. I know, that's helpful.
She's in things. Yeah, I just Googled Splash remake. It's a picture of Channing Tatum and come on, what is your name? I'm in images only. Dang it.
So do they have it like, is he a merman, or did they have him dressed up like a girl?
That would be amazing, but no, he is going to be a merman. They're switching the genders, and it is Jillian Bell. I just looked it up. Yay, I feel so much better.
For a minute, I was like, imagining Channing Tatum in drag.
That would be amazing.
Well, do you remember that old movie, To Wong Foo, Thanks for Everything?
One of my favorites.
It's so, I mean, Patrick Swayze made a gorgeous woman.
He was better looking than I am most days.
Oh, stop that.
He was gorgeous. All right. Well, CJ, what did you learn this episode?
I learned that just because somebody's nice all the time, like, don't cross them. They'll fuck up your shit. They will fuck you up.
Right? Knock out your teeth.
Right.
Well, I learned two things. I learned that even though the cops can't turn around DNA evidence in 24 hours, you probably still shouldn't poop on the side of the building. And I also learned that all Courtney Davenports are fucking rad, and I demand a Courtney convention.
Aw. Well, and I think that I
demand
learned that I might have 2 new people to hang out with the next time I go to Nashville and dance with and get
I'm
super sweaty
so-
and crazy with. So I'm
so
pumped.
down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kid
Hit us
Rock's
up
honky
next
tonk.
time you're in town.
We'll have to take lots of pictures.
Yes.
For sure. That will definitely be a Facebook Live event for the ages.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I would like that.
Well, let's see. Next episode coming up, we are going to discuss some hotel fiascos. We have had, instead of a hot mess, we'll call it a Tabasco fiasco that we've encountered in hotel rooms. We've gone over a couple of ours anyways, but we have some stories from our listeners submitted about their absolutely horrible bugs and thugs type of things that have happened at hotels. So that's what you can look forward to next episode,
And
which
since
should come
the
out here in
last
about 2
time-
weeks.
I think last time we talked about hotel stays, we were more just talking about trips in general.
Yeah.
And just to tease a little bit of what is to come, I had a story, a hotel fiasco happen. Let's see, what was this? 3 or 4 weekends ago, and surprisingly, I almost told it tonight because her Courtney's shit on the wall story reminded me of this.
Oh, fantastic.
So if that gives you any indication of what this story is about, you might want to tune in next time.
For sure. Definitely tune in. And remember to always say yes to adventures because they become stories. And in the end, that's all we are. Night.
Peace.
Night.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.